Dice fans, have I got something to share with you, my friends? Maybe you've got a guess. We are in the Danger Room, the X-Men training facility for life. People, we were fortunate enough to be blessed by the Whiz Kids. And folks, the WDA, the Weekly Dice Arena, has now in our possession some super hype pre-release products, folks. Take a look. We're going to do some unboxing of That's the Wrong Scene. We've got the X-Men Forever Team Box, Campaign Box. I'm so freaking excited. I just opened this. And the Dark X-Men Dice Masters Team Pack, as well as the Uncanny X-Force Team Pack, people. I am so excited to open this with you guys, be able to use these in the WDA, be able to show off this product, build some hype so that you guys can go pre-order or order or whatever it is that you're going to do. You're going to need these. From what I've seen, these are going to be some must-have sets, so I'm super excited to be able to further hype them up. Get your pre-orders in, folks. That's all I got to say. Let's start with the team box. We'll come back to the packs here in a minute. I love X-Men, one of my all-time favorite IPs. I just love the characters. I love the abilities, both in Dice Masters and just their characters in general. But look at that box art. That looks so swell. Oh my gosh, super excited. Super duper excited. We popped the box open. We got ourselves the rule book, as per usual with these team boxes. We got the rule book, which from what I've heard on the Rolling Thunder podcast, I need to go and refresh my rule book knowledge. We got the 2 paper play mats that are really nice in terms of learning the game. They're a little bit small to play long term on, but I know there are people that do it. So they get the job done, and really with all the arrows and all the text, they're super informative. So I'm glad that they keep putting these in the box. We've got the roster sheet. So you can go through, you can check off every single received card. So that's pretty cool. I am glad they keep putting these in here. It's a little throwback to when the game was a little more collectible instead of LCG. But it makes me happy to have all of the cards listed in one place. Super nice. Again, we got our little cover here, which is a grand. Fits like a glove, as it should. Then we get down to the goodies. In this corner, we've got the silica gel balls. Do not eat these, fam. We got the paper bags, dice bags. They're super awesome. Let's take a look at these real quick. Oh, yeah, that's the same as the box art. That's pretty rad. These are surprisingly durable. Let me just say, yes, they're paper bags, but I have seen people that are playing with the ones that came 10 starters or campaign boxes ago. And this one a little more generic on the red side here. Let's try this side. Ooh, get wild. Like I said, X-Men being one of my favorite IPs, super duper excited. Look at that big old sentinel on the side. That's awesome. Then we move over. We got some dice bags. Again, I just opened this. Have not even put the dice in the box yet. We'll get into dice counts and stuff like that later on. Generally, we got back to our white sidekicks. I'm not sure if it's just been a while since I've opened some white sidekicks, but these look crispier. I can't really tell. Maybe you guys can tell at home there, but the edges look nice. All the fill looks super nice. A little fill issue here, but that is to be expected. They look pretty generic. But maybe it's just because I'm super hype about this, but they look whiter than usual, if that makes sense. Whiter than usual. Again, got some dice here. Can't wait to see who all of these characters are, etc., etc. Bam, 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 bam. When we get to the basic action dice, we got the primary color palette here, if I'm not mistaken. Jeebers. It's been a while since I took an art class, but yellow, green, blue, red. I think at least one of those. Maybe green is a secondary color. Somebody help me out. Yellow, green, blue, red action indicator dice. Super fun. I am so excited. Let's get into the cards, because that's where the magic really is. Holy smacks. I'm so freaking pumped. Hey, do you ever just, like, struggle with something, so you just bite it? Ah, you're just like, primal instincts to open cards. So we start off with our color indicator cards. Red, orange, purple, blue. Red. All right, hang on. Hold the phone. Red, orange, purple, blue. Red, orange, purple, blue. Red, orange, purple, blue. Wait just a second. Not sure if that was intentional. Maybe this is just this is a sample product, so maybe they're gonna get that straightened up. But that's pretty funny. I think it's funny. It's quirky. It's got its own flair. I actually like these colors better than the red, purple, orange, blue. Anywho, let's get to it. The first character on top of the stack is Beast, a mask character. Super cool art. Again, I'm going to be like fanboying the whole time about the art. Beast can only be blocked by 2 or more character dice. Nice. 2 cost, look out. When Beast KOs a blocking character die, deal 1 damage to the KO'd die's controller. For a 2 cost, pretty sick. Also, he's got pretty high defense for a 2 cost, so he's going to be KOing stuff, hanging out. It's going to be sick. When Beast attacks, you may pay Mask. If you do, target opposing character die must block this Beast die. On the burst side, instead, 2 target opposing characters must block this Beast die. So that's kind of cool. Like, it's not that you want him for his KO power, but you want to suck those blockers away from other bigger attackers or more meaningful attackers. So I like this. I like this. Cool abilities, Beast. Will definitely be building faux show. Next on the stack is Black Tom Cassidy. 2 cards for this dudes. He's a 4-cost bolt. He's the Hellfire Club villain affiliation. He has the attune keyword, so going to be working well with the action teams of late. The stat line 314152 is interesting. Hits pretty hard for a 4-cost. Not like insane, but pretty hard. Attune is a great ability, so we know we're going to see at least this play on something. You know, it'll get some play. The next one, also 4-cost. Interesting that he changes affiliation here from Hellfire to Brotherhood. He has Fast and Call Out. Now this makes a lot more sense with the stat line, right? So Fast means you assign your damage before other characters. So a 3/4/5 assigned to something else before it can hit back because the defense is so low. I love it. And then Call Out on top of that. So you get to say, if this character is going to be blocked, it can only be blocked by that die. That's pretty strong. I think this is going to be really cool. I'm excited to play around with this one. I also love the art. Again, I'll probably say that about every card. But Black Tom Cassidy, definitely thinking about you already, my friend. Been a lot of hype about this next character. We got Blob coming up. Not a huge fan of this art, but only because I like his X-Men First Class art a lot. But this one's kind of cool. He's like giant, and he's just grasping at things, which makes sense. 3 costs, Shield, Brotherhood, and Villain. Intimidate. Blob may only use Intimidate on sidekick character dice. Blob's Intimidate ability affects all opposing sidekick character dice. Instead of just 1, Blob gets +1 attack for each sidekick character die affected by this Intimidate ability. That's crazy. So his common from the X-Men First Class set captures all opposing sidekicks until Blob leaves the field. This one intimidates all of them at once. That's crazy. But he also gets a +1 boost on top of that for each sidekick that gets intimidated. That is pretty rowdy. And for a 3-cost with 2 affiliations, I feel like this is going to see a lot of play. People are going to be brewing with this faux show. I can definitely see some team-up teams with this. I mean, intimidating a mass number of characters is pretty good. The one thing I will say is he might get just stuck in the field, right? So Intimidate only happens the turn that you field the character. So I could see Blob intimidating out a whole bunch of stuff. Let's say he intimidates out 4 characters. He's now a 5/5. He could attack. He's probably not going to get knocked out, though. You know what I mean? Going to have a hard time refielding this dude, but it's something to think about. It's a really cool ability. I'm glad to see something new. Other Blob, big talking costumed clown. While Blob is active, your opponent may not purchase or field character dice with printed costs of 2. That is power, friends. We have lots of really good 2 costs, whether it be, Kree Soldiers or Yanti or anything that's really popular currently. Like, any team that I can think of that has been doing well has a 2 cost on it. So, this shuts him down. Blanket statement. Your opponent may not purchase or field those dice. That is going to be cool. 4 cost instead of a 3 on this one. But it is a while active ability, so I appreciate the bigger defense this time. Help him to stick around a little longer. Who's next? Cerebro. Cerebro instead of Cerebro. Get it? Cerebro. Cost 1 less to purchase for each of your different active X-Men affiliation characters. So let me think. In a really good game that I really built for this dude, I have 4 X-Men in the field active. This guy becomes a 3 cost, tops out at 8/8. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I don't see it being a super staple. We'll say. He also has a 1-2-3 fielding cost, which is going to slow down practically anybody. I mean, that you don't really get that down, let's be honest. Next, Cerebro, Mutant Detector. Cerebro costs 1 less to field if you have an active X-Men affiliated character die. Now this makes I think this makes him more playable. He costs 1 less to field if you have even 1 active X-Men. That makes sense. Now let's think. For a 6 cost shield, his fielding would then be a 0-1-2. 6 costs, tops out at 8/8. I'd say average. I mean, nothing. The stats don't blow me away. At least with the previous card, you could potentially get him down to like costing 1. Now you would really, really be trying super hard, and that would be your entire game plan. But this one, I mean, it only takes it down by 1. But that 1 is important. I will say that 1 is important. I'm not sure that it will get played a whole bunch, but it's a cool card. And the last Cerebro, Rust Bucket. When Cerebro is KO'd, you may move an X-Men character die from your used to your prep. Move an X-Men character die from your used to your prep. Now, first things first, the guy has to get KO'd. He has a 5-6-8 defense. Not sure what your opponent is bringing that's going to KO that on a regular basis. So not really going to see this guy get KO'd often. And then when he does get KO'd, I get to move an X-Men character die from used to prep. I'm unconvinced. I mean, I suppose you could buy like Rare Bishop or something, move him over to prep in like an emergency situation. But then it still comes down to how do you KO this guy, He's gigantic. I'd say this is, unless I'm overlooking some super awesome X-Men characters, which there's probably going to be some in this box. I don't really see it happening. I don't see it being worth it. But you never know. We'll give it a go. Cerebro, we'll try, buddy. We'll try. No promises. Next on the bucket list, Cyclops. Welcome to the game. Presenter or accounted for? Interesting. While Cyclops is active, your X-Men character die costs 1 less to purchase, and your non-Cyclops X-Men character dice get +1/+1. For a 5-cost bolt, I'm thinking that's pretty good. While he's active, your X-Men cost 1 less to purchase. That's pretty good. And your non-Cyclops X-Men, after you purchase them, which is cool. I like how it sort of builds on itself, right? You can purchase them, and they get a buff in the field when they're active. That's pretty cool. I wish that he gave himself the buff, but then again, how would you regulate that he wouldn't just always have the buff, I suppose? That's cool. I think this is cool enough to say in a draft it would be super good. And it might be a card that, pending the rest of your lineup, it might make sense. I think you'd really have to build a affiliation team for this to work out, but on that team, it would be awesome. It would be super duper. Let's see what the other Cyclops has for us. Prismatic Lens. When fielded, if you control 3 or more bolt character dice, deal 2 damage to target opponent. When fielded, if you control 3 or more bolt character dice, deal 2 damage to target opponent. 5-cost bolt, stat line 425264. Now, the thing I like about the stat line is he's got heavy attack, lightweight defense with regards to his attack, right? 425264. In theory, you could just continue to field this dude. He also has a 1/1/1 fielding, which is super for a 5-cost. I mean, it only gets bigger from there. But you could continue to field this guy and attack with him over and over and over again. You'd be dealing damage to your opponent just for fielding him, pending that you had some, maybe some control-y bolts out there. But I could see it working. 5 cost is a little bit steep, especially because of all of the, contingencies, right? It's when fielded. That's okay. If you control 3 or more bolt character dice, now the cool part is it says dice. It does not say 3 separate character or bolt characters, so character dice. That's cool. Deal 2 to target opponent. So the 5, on a 4, I think this would be really head turning, right? You could really build around this. You could buy it on turn 1. But then again, you're not really trying to buy this guy on turn 1, right? You need a couple bolts in the field first, then bring him along. I think it's cool. I will try to build around it. I'm excited for old Cyclops. Next on the chopping block is Donald Pierce. Donald Pierce, the 5-cost fist, a Hellfire Club villain. He has Overcrush, just straight up Overcrush. Sometimes you just need a keyword, fam. His stat line 042153165. So I like the fielding cost. That's pretty dope. For a 5-cost, I'd say he has generic stats. It is a cool stat line. I'm not sure that I know that line from any other dice, but it's cool. So far, seeing a little bit of a trend of high attack, low defense. So a big smashy game going on here. Overcrush, always good. I think he's got a shot, especially with being 2 affiliation. Again, these team-up teams of late love dual affiliation. They love Overcrush, and they're going to love the stats that are already tacked on here. I think this is playable, but definitely a cool stat line. Not sure that I've seen that one anywhere else. The next one, when fielded, let's see if I can get us in focus here. When fielded, deal X damage to target opposing character die, where X is the number of fists in your reserve pool. I feel like this is a similar ability to Iron Fist, right? Deal X, where X is the number of fists. Yeesh. Well, what if you played this with the Iron Fist that has essentially the same ability, or not? It could be the exact same for all I remember, but I don't actually remember. Looking pretty cool. Character removal is nice. You also don't have to spend the fists, which is nice. So they could just be hanging out, and you could spend them later on Outsider or Atlas Global or buying fist characters. There is some Fist Swarm out there recently that's pretty cool. So I'd say this is nice. I think if the Iron Fist with the approximate same ability hasn't really seen a whole mess of play, I can't see this getting a lot at a 5-cost, but you just never know. 5-cost Fist with Regenerate. I don't love this one. This is the first card that I'm just not going to play. I don't see it happening. 5 costs. Fielding costs on 2 sides. 4, 5, 6 attack. I just don't see it. I don't really see the point. But someone please surprise me. Post your team lists in the chat below, or in the comments below. Let me know what kind of craziness you have for Donald Pierce. That was a good time. Over to Emma Frost. She's next. While Emma Frost is active, when an opponent... Geez, we got a little wall of text here. While Emma Frost is active, when an opponent declares a character die as an attacker or blocker, they may not attack or block with any other copies of that die this turn. So, I'm trying to think of teams that would really benefit from this. I can't really think of any teams right now where there's a lot of the same character in the field. Now, maybe some sidekick teams, right? So if they attack with sidekick, they may not attack or block with any copies of that die this turn. No other sidekicks can attack. So that could be cool for like a team up thing. I know Instant War is pretty good recently. So maybe. Again, I'm sort of unconvinced, especially with these fielding costs. 1, 1, 2. She does get pretty large down here on her level 3 side, so sticking around for a bit. Long enough to do her thing for sure, but it would definitely be a niche. Like if the meta moved towards buying 4 of the same character, maybe. Just maybe. I'd say possible. You got possibilities, Emma Frost. Next, another 4-cost shield says, while you have an X-Men character die other than Emma Frost active, she gets +1/+1. While she's active, if you have no active non-Emma Frost... Okay, pause. If she's active and she's the only X-Men character die you have active, she gains the villain affiliation. I don't know. I don't love it. I'm not really seeing the dots connected here, but it is a really cool ability. I haven't seen anything like this that I can remember. Sort of like contingent affiliations. But +1/+1 is good. That would make her stats like above average for a 4-cost for sure. So she could get kind of punchy. I don't know about the affiliation thing. Maybe there's something I'm overlooking, but looks pretty okay. Her last card, as you say, Shaw. When fielded, you may gain control of target opposing sidekick character die. At the end of turn, return that sidekick die to your opponent's field, regardless of where it ends up. Reminds me of the old Jervis Tetch, which is super good in draft. So this card, it could see some life. Jervis was also a 4-cost, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that one was a 3-cost, but this mechanic works well. The problem that I see with this card that doesn't happen with some other capture abilities or control is that it returns to the field regardless of where it ends up. So let's say you attack with it, it goes unblocked, it still comes back to the field. If you attack with it, it gets blocked and KO'd, it still comes back to the field, which makes it less strong. Emma Frost, I'd say you're at right now. It would be fun, but at a 4-cost, I can't see myself buying more than one of these. Also, I just don't know that the ability, especially with the sidekick coming back to the field always, I don't see it being super duper strong. But maybe, just maybe, folks. Over to Hope Summers. Hope Summers is next. Hope Summers is a shield character with the X-Men affiliation. Hope Summers gets +1/+1 for each of your different active non-Hope Summers X-Men characters. +1/+1. Her stat line is very consistent. 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 2-2. So again, if we say best case scenario is you have 4 other X-Men in the field, she becomes a 6/6 on her top. Now for a 2-cost, that's giant, right? I think it's going to be good on a X-Men affiliated team, right? If you're building around this, it's going to be good. But again, best case scenario, you're still getting 3 or 4 added buffs, which for a 2-cost, sure. Also, you could buy a couple of these, right? It'll be interesting to see how many Hope Summer dice came in this box. But she could get fairly large. Fairly large. We'll call it fairly large. Next card. When fielded, choose an X-Men character card on your team. Replacing all previous choices, Hope Summers gains that character's text box in addition to her own. She retains that text box until she's fielded again. Anytime a 3-cost can assume the text box of any other card, it's going to be something you need to look at, right? Choose an X-Men character card on your team. It doesn't even have to be purchased. It doesn't have to be active. She needs to be fielded, and you need to have the card on your team. That is absurd. This is going to get a little crazy. Now, it's gonna depend on what kind of X-Men affiliated stuff is also in this box, or if you're playing in the Golden Age where you can play any of your X-Men stuff. I mean, this has potential to get pretty rowdy. That's all I'm going to say. I will also comment that she does not take that card's stats, thank goodness. But there are some pretty darn strong X-Men character abilities. So this is going to be pretty cool. I anticipate this getting a lot of looks. Like I said, anytime that you can assume any other card's text on your team, that's absurd. So this is going to see some play. I can't wait to build around it. It's going to be awesome. Hope Summers. When she's fielded, draw a die for each of your different active X-Men characters. Draw a die for each of your different active X-Men characters. Place any X-Men character dice you drew in your prep area. Place the rest in your use pile. When she's fielded, draw a die. So again, best case scenario, you're drawing 4 here. I mean, not best case, but I'm going to say most realistic scenario, you're drawing 4 or less dice. The X-Men you draw, which again, if you're building around this sort of team, you'll probably draw some X-Men. But let's be honest, you already have 4 in the field. If you're going to draw 4 dice, how many more could you possibly have? Now, this could be a good churn mech, right? Like, let's say you're running, something unblockable. You just want to keep that coming through the bag every time. This looks pretty good. But again, you got to have a lot of X-Men hanging out in the field, plus a lot of X-Men in your bag for it to be most efficient, which just doesn't happen a whole lot. But I could see somebody planning around this and making it pretty tight. Next on the block, block, get it? Block? No, you guys don't know what character it is. Iceman, a staple of the Dice Masters X-Men combo action. It says 4-cost bolt. When Iceman takes damage during the attack step, he deals 2 damage to target opponent. This is like Common Hulk from Thor, essentially, except for it's only the damage to himself, right? And there's none of the spin-up shenanigans. When Iceman takes damage during the attack step, that means from globals or otherwise, people, he deals 2 damage to target opponent. Now, to compound the craziness, let's take a look down here at the stat line, folks, if it'll ever focus. The stat line is 243646. He can take a lot of damage. And it's instances of damage. When he takes damage during the attack step, that means every time. When he takes damage. Holy cow. So, in theory, let's call him on level 2 or 3. He's got 6 defense. You can ping him 5 times and attack with him. That's 10 damage plus the attack, which is either 2 more for getting knocked out, or you send him through for 4. That is over half of your opponent's life, my friends. This guy's gonna definitely get some strong looks. It reminds me of the Atom from the Justice box. In terms of you could spend 1 energy and be doing 2 damage to your opponent. It's the same value, it's just on a different path, and I would say this one is even stronger because it's not contingent on spinning up or being on a certain level, etc., etc. This is going to be good. It's going to be good. Let's see what his other one is, because I really love when they put 2 good abilities on the same character. That way you actually have to choose. Like, it's not just a shoe-in, you know? We've got I'm Just Me. When Iceman damages a character die, that character die cannot attack or block during the following turn. Now, reasons this is cool. Let's pretend you put a Doom Lance or something on Iceman. Everyone has to block him. He damages them, and none of them can block the following turn. Or maybe it means following turn like the turn that it's not right now. So if he attacks, it would be on they can't attack the following turn. Which potentially makes this cooler. I mean, it makes it not as strong, but potentially makes it cooler because let's pretend my opponent has tons of stuff in the field, and I keep continually making them block Iceman. Iceman says, you can't do anything next turn. I just kind of lock my opponent into a big wall of characters. That's kind of cool to me as a little Timmy Tinkerer team builder. But in terms of like functionality, I would say, yeah, it requires some things, right? The first thing that would be cool if this card had his call out, because then you could choose the character that has to block him, right? So if I didn't want some when attacks ability to go off next turn, I could say call out, that character has to block Iceman, and then they wouldn't be able to attack the following turn. That's pretty cool. But it's not on here. So it would require some sort of taunt global, and then you would only be able to attack with this guy. It needs some auxiliary pieces, but I'm not saying that those things don't exist. I just think standalone, I think the other one is better. This one is more control-y. This one is more offensive. I'd say whatever kind of team you're building, there's an Iceman for it. There's an Iceman for it. We're on to Jean Grey. Jean Grey is a Bolt character. She's a 5 cost on this card. It says, while active, when an opponent fields a villain, deal 1 damage to the opponent. Interesting. Interesting indeed. The reasons this is interesting. First off, villains are big in the meta. Villains are the largest affiliation. There's lots of villains out there. Dealing a damage every time they are fielded is cool. On a 5 cost, that has to be active, and they have to be villains. I just think it's a little too niche, right? I'm not gonna build a team around this character that deals 1 damage with all those stipulations. Now, would this be good? Maybe with a rare danger room that would turn everyone to villains. That would be kind of cool, but I can't activate rare danger room on my opponent's team turn when they are fielding characters, right? That just doesn't make sense. So I see this being meh. I see it being meh. Maybe in draft it'll be good because there's just as many villains as there are X-Men essentially in this box. So we'll see, Jean. We'll see. I liked you better in X-Men First Class. When Jean Grey is fielded, spin all your other X-Men character dice up 1 level. When she's fielded. Now again, things to look at for when fielded is the stat line. Is she going to be knocked out and refielded? No. Now, the good thing I like about cards that spin up X-Men is that there's a lot of awaken keywords on X-Men cards, right? So that gives me hope, but I would say Jean Grey, in theory, not really gonna tinker with you too much unless there's a very niche awakened team that I am ready to build. The next card, I know there's a lot of hype around this one, is Jubilee, as if her other cards weren't already great. 3 cost Bolt. When Jubilee attacks, deal 1 damage to your opponent for each other attacking Bolt character die. People, we've already had conversations about Iceman and Bolt characters. Holy cannoli, this is your second one right here. When she deals 1 damage to your opponent for each other attacking Bolt. Pretty darn good. Now again, best case scenario, you're attacking with 3 or 4 other Bolt characters. 4 damage is good. It's not like build around worthy. I mean, it's definitely throw it on a Bolt team for sure. Is it throw it on an X-Men team? Probably not. Is it throw it on a general top level meta team? Possibly. But it's not a shoe-in of a card, right? Not gonna be an automatic slot. 3 cost Bolt for her other one. When fielded, deal 2 damage to target character die or opponent. Done. This one's already better. This one's already better. Like, I hate to even just discount the other one, but this one is better in every way, right? I will say her first one is a when attacks. She could continue doing that a lot of turns in a row. When fielded, though, when fielded, deal 2 damage to target character die or opponent. The flexibility alone makes this better, in my opinion. A max 5 as well. You can have 5 of these babies just churning through. Just craziness. Just craziness. I think this is going to get a lot of looks. There's a lot of potential damage in this card for sure. Heyo, down costed. This one's a 2 cost Bolt, fam. When she's active, when you field a Bolt character, deal 1 to target opponent. Now, things that I like. Her stat line is 133 for the defense. She is going to stick around in the early game, right? So against sidekicks, other things that you can buy on turn 1, should be all right. Her fielding cost, which we've seen before, is pretty gross in terms of like, even though this is a 2 cost, you're paying for it in fielding costs. Let's be honest. So we could already just call this a 3 cost. I know it's not, but value-wise, when you field a bolt character, deal 1 to target opponent. It takes away the flexibility of the other card, the previous card, but this is when you field other things. So you should field Jubilee first, then you field a whole bunch of bolt characters, and profit. I'd say this one comes in behind her second card, but at a 2 cost, I mean, a 2 cost always has a spot. You know, every team needs some cheap characters. The next character is Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde. This character die cannot be blocked. I should say 4 cost mask. This character die cannot be blocked if it attacks with another X-Men. Holy moly. This looks like a draft winner to me. You pick up 1 other X-Men and you just keep attacking with them. This reminds me of the Common Ground, what was it, Catwoman? Common Ground keyword is essentially like this, except for you had to attack with a villain. This is another X-Men character die, attacks with Kitty Pryde, she's unblockable. Now, that being said, she only has 3 attack on her top side, but her fielding costs are 0/0/1, so you are going to be able to do that multiple times, right? I'm going to be spinning this girl through the bag ASAP. So, I'd say great form of damage, sort of a standalone card, right? Don't really have to build too much around this. You get 1 other X-Men and you're in business. Next, when fielded, non-Kitty Pryde X-Men character dice cost 2 less to purchase. This is pretty sick. This is pretty sick. They cost 2 less to purchase. So a lot of the characters we've seen so far, like the majority of them are 3 and 4 cost. That makes them a 1 or 2 cost. It's also till the end of turn, right? It's not the next X-Men you buy is 2 less. It is every X-Men you buy this turn costs 2 less. That is substantial. This is like big entrance. I don't want to say it's like big entrance. There's a lot of big entrance haters out there, and for good reason. Big entrance becomes clunky. This though, it's the 3 cost. You buy it on turn 1. It comes through your bag. Maybe you have something to prep, so you can maybe roll it on turn 2. It could get great. It could get great. It could be a way to flood a whole bunch of X-Men into your bag, which is pretty cool. Star-Lord. Kitty Pryde. Star-Lord. When fielded, draw a die. If it's an X-Men character die, roll it and place it in your reserve pool. Otherwise, place it in your used. So again, great on an X-Men team. Not super great anywhere else, right? It didn't say, if it's a character die, put it in reserve. Otherwise, put it in prep. That would be kind of cool. Get some sidekicks out of the way. It could be better. 3 cost is okay. If it was a 4 cost, I would say don't even read this card in terms of like things that you're really trying to build around. But on an X-Men team, this could see some play. Meh. Just gonna be meh. I'm going to stop there and end this video for part 1. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll have part 2 up here shortly, but the box is just so big. We haven't even got to the team packs yet. Things are about to get crazy. Again, big ups to WizKids for letting me promote this product. Guys, get out there and get your pre-orders in. Leave me some comments below if you've got team building ideas already. I know some of you guys are bursting, so let me know. Super excited for part 2. Hang in there. Peace.